Boston still 1 Protect Shield, 2 high behind, unwilling to shield Rhyperior. Gonna put it all on Ursaring to clean up. Ursaring comes out, gets the Shadow Claw farm down at the cost of almost all its HP. Back out comes Necrozma. We fire the Trailblaze bait, forcing the final Protect Shield and vamping up our attack. We're gonna reach the boosted close combat and Ursaring is gonna clean up. Welcome back to the channel. My god, do we have a banger of a battle submission today from none other than my personal favourite battler in the world, the one and only xboston. For those of you that don't know Boston, he is an absolute spice lord, and today he is using some outside of the box spice with Ursaring, not even Ursaluna, in the Open Master League. The reason we've gone with a Prevolution rather than the Evolution is that Ursaluna has a dreadful quick move, so we're going to rock with his baby brother to actually do some decent super effective damage to top meta threats like Mewtwo, like Giratina and Necrozma. Despite Swift now being a pretty good move, Boston's not running that either. He's running Trailblaze to hit stuff like Rhyperior for not only super effective damage, but double super effective damage. Need I say any more? Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, Boston leads Shadow Rhyperior into the bulky blue whale. That is not fantastic. Boston instantly pivots into Shadow Ursaring. Ursaring farms up, goes straight for the Trailblaze. Looking to do some decent super effective damage. I'll say decent, as let's be real, Kyogre has a monstrous stat product compared to our bear. The opponent's shields once, commit to that full waterfall farm down, leaving very healthy as well. Boston waits out his clock, sends out Gyarados, and we do have to be mindful that either a Blizzard or Thunder would do a lot. The opponent banks a bucket of energy and then send out Melmetal. Boston fires off the Aqua Tail, switch timer pops up, Boston attempts the rock slide catch. The catch didn't look the cleanest. Did the opponent react quick enough? No, they did not. Boston gets himself back in the game, but this still looks very tricky. Both Double Iron Bash and Superpower would be super effective, but there really isn't much point in shielding, knowing Kyogre will be returning. Rhyperior shows its bulk, surviving the Superpower. Back out comes Kyogre. Boston tries to fire off the Rock Wrecker, but loses CMP. Boston happy to invest the Protect Shield, knowing he's going to remove Kyogre from the field of play or force the opponent all shields down. Switch time pops up again. We pivot into Gyarados, and out comes Yveltal. Boston running that Hail Mary outrage. How much will this do? I've got no idea, but the answer unfortunately is not quite enough. Boston going to invest the Protect Shield. Look for that Dragon Breath farm down. Can the opponent reach a Thunder to potentially knock us out? To be honest, we're very quickly approaching Surf range. Back out comes Kyogre. Boston settles for the Aqua Tail, looking to do any chip damage he can. Aqua Tail isn't lethal. Oh boy. The opponent going to be taking us out with the Surf. Rhyperior comes out, able to survive the waterfall. Holy moly, I thought we was cooked, but Boston manages to emerge victorious. GG's. In the next battle, we've got a change of lead and a change of fortune as we lead Ursaring into Groudon. Boston going to strike first, firing off the Trailblaze, trying to sneak it through to Protect Shield. Trailblaze rocks Groudon below half health, and we see the pivot into Gyarados. Whatever the opponent throws will be resisted. Fire Punch just tickles the opponent, then pivot out into Primarina. Unfortunately, Gyarados is going to be completely walled here. The Dragon Breaths are going to be double resisted, and the Aqua Tail also going to be single resisted as water does resist itself. Gyarados putting in work despite being a dreadful matchup, able to reach double Aqua Tail, which gets Primarina below half health. It's nice to bait the water type out, so Rhyperior doesn't have to see it. Boston sends back out Ursaring. We actually get denied coming in, which is pretty brutal and not as the game's intended. Hydro Cannon rocks us deep into the red. Boston attempts the Mud Slap snipe with Rhyperior. The opponent saves Primarina, send back out Groudon. Boston gets baited with the Fire Punch, but Groudon unable to reach another move. Boston does need to be mindful that Primarina is still alive, but now nothing more than a sacrificial swap. Out comes Giratina. Boston with so much energy fires off the first Breaking Swipe. Despite Breaking Swipe being super effective, Rock Wrecker would do more. Boston again farms the Rock Wrecker, baits with the Breaking Swipe. Boston then tries to catch a move onto Ursaring unsuccessfully. Primarina snipes down Ursaring. Back out comes Rhyperior. Rhyperior snipes down Primarina. Boston thinking that double Breaking Swipe is the way to go. Unless the opponent's doubled up, this one will end in victory. The opponent fire off the ominous wind bait, but no bait will be saving this opponent's fate as Rhyperior reaches Breaking Swipe about number 1000, and we take that game. What a chaotic ending to that battle. GG's to both trainers. In the next battle, we see Ursaring into Xerneas. Xerneas, a huge core breaker for this team. Ursaring is kind of our best response, to be honest. Boston gonna fire off the Trailblaze. Trailblaze goes unshielded, doing some much needed chip damage. Boston then attempts to catch a close combat onto Gyarados. Beautiful. The opponent was not messing around. Full send the close combat rather than going for the Moonblast bait. Our Gyarados save switch is answered by Dialga. Boston YOLOs the outrage, to my surprise, forcing a Protect Shield. This looks tricky. This loaded Dialga is going to be a problem for our Rhyperior. Boston waits out his clock, sends out Rhyperior. Rhyperior going to be putting up that Protect Shield, blocking up the incoming Iron Head, but we're not going to be able to Mud Slap farm down before the second Iron Head's reach. Boston attempts the Iron Head catch onto Ursaring unsuccessfully. The opponent banks their energy and send out Giratina. Mr. Opponent, unless you've got Dragon Pulse, I promise you this is not the matchup you are looking for. Ursaring, being just a pure normal type, is going to double resist Ghost type damage. You can see these Shadow Claws are doing absolutely nothing to Ursaring. Although in fairness, we're quite glassy, so a Shadow Ball might remove us from the field of play. Shadow Ball actually isn't lethal. Oh my gosh, Ursaring putting in so much work, completely KOing Giratina. We then pivot back out into Rhyperior. Boston needs to pick his poison. The opponent fire off the close combat. Boston looks for that full Mud Slap farm down, which we're unable to get. Back out comes Dialga. Dialga dies to the Breaking Swipe. Back out comes Xerneas. Boston reaches one further Breaking Swipe. This is double resisted. Is it enough to knock out? No, it's not, but one more Mud Slap gets the job done, and we take that game. In the next battle this time, we see Shiny Giratina in the lead position. The opponent realises that's a god-awful matchup and save switch into Dialga. We YOLO the close combat. Does the opponent respect the damage? Oh, come on. Who shields from a Shadow Ursaring? Come on, Jamie. Pull yourself together. This is shambolic, even by your own very low standards. Boston save switches into Rhyperior. Rhyperior gets that one shield. Full Mud Slap farm down, leaving absolutely loaded. Back out comes Giratina. Boston fires off the Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. At this point, I'm not really sure why we're Breaking Swiping, as Rock Wrecker would do more. We're going to let Boston cook. Boston banks the Breaking Swipe and then makes a savage catch, catching the ominous wind bait onto Ursaring, and I think that actually healed us. The opponent sends out Solgaleo, so they're insanely weak to Ursaring, but unfortunately, Ursaring has quite literally almost run out of HP, so Boston elects to let it go down. None of our two remaining Pokemon are going to be able to clean up. Rhyperior re-enters the field of play. Boston this time does go for the hard-hitting Rock Wrecker. Rock Wrecker is resisted, but gets Solgaleo into the red health range. Finally, the opponent going to be able to remove Rhyperior from the field of play, but out comes Gyarados, and at this point, the opponent really should top left. Boston look to the Dragon Breath farm down, which we're unable to get before the Psychic Fangs reached. Boston makes the correct no shielding decision, as a Shadow Ball or even an Ominous Wind would do more than a Psychic Fangs. Boston YOLOs the outrage. We actually don't hit enough bubbles to remove them from the field of play, but regardless, this game's over. Boston shields up the Ominous Wind, Dragon Breath farms down Giratina, Dragon Breath farms down Solgaleo, and we take that game. In the next battle, we see Gardevoir in the lead. Once again, Shadow Claws hitting for super effective, and a fair amount of super effective damage at that. Actually outpacing the charm damage. Boston fires off the Trailblaze. Trailblaze isn't lethal, but the Big Bear able to Shadow Claw farm down afterwards. Out comes Yveltal. Boston goes for the boosted close combat. The close combat sneaks through two Protect Shields and rocks them down to round a third health. Boston then sends out Gyarados, looking for the Dragon Breath snipe. The opponent continued to stay in. Boston shields at the Dark Pulse. The opponent then sends out Necrozma. Oh boy, the opponent in so much trouble. Boston absolutely loaded, fires off the first Aqua Tail, forcing the opponent's first Protect Shield. Gyarados able to outpace to Aqua Tail number 2. The second Aqua Tail goes unshielded, and Necrozma already finds itself below half health. We see the instant no shield deployed. Boston knows he needs to save his shield for a potential Sunsteel strike. We send out Rhyperior. Boston attempts to make the catch. The catch doesn't look the cleanest, but the opponent does opt to throw energy, and it is the Sunsteel strike. Boston able to Mud Slap, farm down Necrozma. Back out comes Yveltal. We double resisted, Mud Slap, farm that down as well, and we take that game. In the next battle, we see Garchomp in the lead. Interestingly, this one is on Mud Shot as well, so they're applying very little fast move pressure. Boston attempts an Earth Power catch onto Gyarados. Boston, you are such a naughty boy. Boston makes yet another savage catch, and out comes Togekiss. This is by no means a good matchup for Gyarados, but at least unlike Primarina, we can at least hit for neutral with these Aqua Tails, and Shadow Gyarados hits pretty hard. 2 Aqua Tails almost do all of the HP. To be honest, I'm not sure if it's a fully powered up Togekiss. I can't see any of the CPs, I shoutcast on my phone, but we're able to force ourselves a shield advantage in the mid game. Boston temporarily sent out Rhyperior, then pivots back out into Ursaring, perhaps looking to make a catch. No catch was made, but the opponent continuing to go for that full tap. Charm down, farm down, so Boston able to reach the close combat, removing Togekiss from the field of play. Garchomp comes back out, gets that mud shot farm down, but the opponent now has no Protect Shields, too high behind. The opponent's already shown Earth Power, so Boston instantly puts up that Protect Shield, blocking up the Earth Power that would have done massive damage. Out comes Metagross. Boston firing off the Breaking Swipe, looking for that coin flip attack drop to lower this Bullet Punch damage. Boston this time, gonna YOLO the Rock Wrecker, hoping Rock Wrecker is enough to knock out. Rock Wrecker is resisted, it isn't quite lethal, but able to Mud Slap, farm down afterwards. The opponent says, no thank you, I've had enough, and they concede the match. GG's. Heading into the next battle. Looks like we're back to Rhyperior lead, and this time we lead into Palkia. This isn't actually a bad matchup for us. We are actually able to win the 2-shield scenario. Boston tries to catch an Aqua Tail onto Gyarados unsuccessfully. He then respects the Spatial Rend, which is a good shield from us as the opponent was full sending. The opponent then answers our Gyarados save switch with Kyogre. The opponent must be insanely weak to Gyarados if this is their best response. Boston able to sneak the Outrage through 2 Protect Shields. This is only a Surf, but unfortunately Surf will be removing us from the field of play. Boston has put this Kyogre deep into the red, and a very nice Shadow Claw farm down for Ursaring. Ursaring gets a very nice running start. The opponent thinking about what they want to send out. You can see Boston spamming the switch. Out comes the Necrozma. The opponent pivots back out into Palkia, but we've already got the Breaking Swipe banked. Breaking Swipe forces the opponent's first Protect Shield. The opponent able to reach the Aqua Tail. Boston with a decision to make. Going to pull on Ursaring to clean up. Ursaring going to be looking for that full Shadow Claw farm down, which we're able to get at the cost of almost all of our HP. Back out comes Necrozma. Boston going for a very risky Trailblaze bait. Trailblaze forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. Boston gets off as much boosted Shadow Claw damage as he physically can before putting them into close combat range. Bang! There it is. Shout out the GOAT, Oxford U, and we take that game. In the next battle, we see the mirror, but of course, I'm going to say we've got the better Rhyperior, as Shadows are always better than the regular variant. Boston just going to YOLO the Rock Wrecker, anticipating the opponent no-shielding. Rock Wrecker is resisted, but would have still done a lot of damage. The opponent must be under-leveled, as our Mud Slaps were doing objectively more than theirs were to us. Ooh, Boston once again flexing his enormous testicles, sending out Gyarados into a loaded Rhyperior, then calling the bait as well. Boston able to reach the Aqua Tail, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. Boston then correctly shields up the Rock Wrecker. Boston making all the correct shielding decisions in this battle so far. The opponent only reached a Breaking Swipe. They are able to get the attack drop. We're still able to farm down afterwards. Out comes Necrozma. Oh boy, the opponent pivots out into an unshielded Yveltal. Blink, and you might miss it. Yveltal going to be straight in and straight out. Rock Wrecker picks up that one shot. The opponent still playing out the inevitable, probably hoping we are insanely weak to Necrozma in the back. Unfortunately, we are not. Boston even fires off the Aqua Tail, rocking the opponent deep into the red health range. The opponent recognises they're not going to have the Shadow Claw farm us down. Full send a Sunsteel Strike for no reason whatsoever. One Shadow Claw removes them from the field of play, and we take that game. In the next battle, we see Rhyperior into Mewtwo. Mewtwo hits everything for a lot of damage. So we're going to see Boston invest the first Protect Shield, blocking up the first Side Strike. The opponent then sends out Ho-Oh. Trainer, do you have a Death Wish? Who sends out Ho-Oh into a loaded Rhyperior? Oh, man. Boston banks the Rock Wrecker, then sends out Gyarados. The opponent actually had Solar Beam. We actually don't get taken out by the Solar Beam, which hits us for neutral due to flying resisting grass and water taking super effective. Boston force the opponent's final Protect Shield. With the Aqua Tail, we send out Rhyperior. Rhyperior goes straight for the Rock Wrecker. Rock Wrecker kills that Ho-Oh, and probably every Ho-Oh that's ever entered the Master League, if I'm being brutally honest, and I've completely lost composure. I don't really know what's going on anymore. Mewtwo comes out, fires off the Side Strike. The opponent then snipes with Groudon, and it's all down to Ursaring to clean up. Ursaring going to go straight for the Trailblaze, which not only hits for super effective, but also vamps up our attack. Boston still for Protect Shield. Thinks about calling the Fire Punch bait. No! Boston calls the bait like a savage. Boston now going to be shielding up the next Fire Punch. Looking for that Shadow Claw farm down. Let's go Ursaring. Let's go Ursaring. Ursaring gets that Shadow Claw farm down, leaving with the Trailblaze. I'll be honest, I would have liked to see us throw the BM close combat, but regardless, this one is going to end in victory. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle. Rhyperians and Gyarados, not a particularly great matchup for us by any means. The opponent is going to be able to outpace to a double super effective Aqua Tail, but Boston does what Boston loves to do and makes the catch onto his own Gyarados. The opponent then decides, I'm actually going to enter the same matchup. The opponent about to give us a very good demonstration of why this is a bad matchup if you're the Rhyperior user. They don't even farm the Rock Wrecker, making Boston's shielding decision a very easy no shield. One breaking swipe just never puts you anywhere near double resisted Mud Slap farm down range. Boston happy to shield up the next breaking swipe, knowing he can force both Protect Shields off the opponent or just remove them from the field of play. Let's see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent opts to double shield Rhyperior. Boston then goes to the wham, bam, combo play, sends out his own Rhyperior, looks to fire off the Rock Wrecker, oof, which unfortunately isn't quite lethal. The opponent survives on 1 HP and a dream. Boston able to Mud Slap farm down afterwards, but it would have been nice if we wouldn't have had to take that breaking swipe. Gyarados re-enters the field of play. Boston doesn't commit to the Rock Wrecker, just fires off the breaking swipe, looking to do some chip damage. The opponent gets scared, dumping energy. I'm not really sure if they could farm down there. It would have been close. The opponent plays it safe, fire off the Aqua Tail, removing us from the field of play. Boston waits out his clock, sends out Ursaring. Boston attempts another catch. Boston! This guy has a family. Boston makes the second Aqua Tail catch of the battle. Despite making two very nice catches, I think this one is going to end in defeat. Boston unfortunately throws an alignment as well, meaning the opponent sneaks a charm. Boston gets fully charm farmed down, and we're going to take a heartbreaking loss. In the next battle, we see Rhyperior into the Kentucky Fried Chicken, Bird of Death, Ho-Oh. Boston, again throws on alignment. We fire off the breaking swipe, thankfully forcing a Protect Shield. Are we about to get Solar Beamed once again? Boston thankfully only gets Sacred Fired. Sacred Fire isn't enough to get the job done this time. He is full sending. Does the opponent respect the damage? They do not. Rhyperior able to win the lead and gain a shield advantage. We then see the save switch into Ursaring. The opponent sends out Palkia. Palkia fires off the Aqua Tail, almost removing us from the field of play. My God, Ursaring, you're one glassy boy. We fire off the Trailblaze, which the opponent makes a very nice catch, catching onto Yveltal. Gyarados is going to be tasked with doing the heavy lift in this battle. It's still got two Protect Shields to hide behind. You can see this Dragon Breath damage is tearing through Yveltal. Boston goes straight for the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail goes unshielded. Unfortunately, it's not quite enough to knock out Boston. Going to be burning the first Protect Shield, blocking up the Oblivion Wing. Back out comes Palkia, and I think the win con for us is going to be a fast move, beat down to the finish. Boston actually makes the catch, catching the Aqua Tail onto Rhyperior. Back out comes Gyarados. Gyarados able to Dragon Breath, farm down Palkia, Dragon Breath farm down Yveltal, and we take that game. Very, very nicely done. Heading into the final battle of today's video, and this one's a bonus battle with Shiny Shadow Machamp running a very, very off-meta moveset. We won't spoil it, you'll have to wait till it enters the field of play. This opening matchup really is a David versus Goliath scenario. Zygarde, aka Optimus Prime, has twice the stat product of our Shadow Ursaring. You can see that boosted close combat still didn't do much to dent Optimus Prime's never-ended HP. We send out Machamp, the opponent fire off the crunch, and just look at that moveset. We've got Stone Edge and Payback. Speaking of Payback, does this opponent respect the damage? Payback, big, big damage. Unfortunately, it didn't quite get the screenshot one shot, but we'll take that. Psychic Fangs removes Machamp from the field of play. Ursaring comes back out, able to Shadow Claw farm down. The opponent still having two Protect Shields. I've got no idea how we win this battle, or even if we do win. I think we might just be flexing that huge Payback. Wait, hold that thought. There's the win con. The opponent's got Groudon in the back, which is absolutely atrocious into Gyarados. This is probably one of the worst, most polarizing matchups you could possibly have in the Master League. Fire Punch resisted. The Mud Shots and Precipice Blaze are double resisted due to our flying water typing, so Gyarados very much in the driver's seat. Despite being down a Protect Shield, the opponent very quickly burns both Protect Shields, blocking up the double Aqua Tail. Boston finally going to deploy the final Protect Shield, blocking up the Fire Punch. Boston attempts to make a catch unsuccessfully. We send out Ursaring. Ursaring fires off the Trailblaze, removing the opponent from the field of play. The opponent able to mud shot farm us down, but no one move will knock us out. Precipice Blaze, a very, very good move. The opponent actually go for a Fire Punch. Fire Punch is only single resisted, but Precipice Blaze, one of the best moves in the game, still does more, and Boston takes that game. I've actually just looked on Pvpoke. Fire Punch does around 18% of Gyarados' HP, whereas Precipice Blaze does a whopping 29%, so it is far, far the better move to throw. If you are stuck in that matchup, Precipice Blaze is actually better damage per energy as well. Fire Punch is 0.8, whereas Precipice Blaze is 0.95. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's video. A huge shout out to the one and only xboston. I take my hat off to your buddy. That was so much fun. If you made it to this point of the video, thank you. And if you enjoyed it, why not leave a like? If you're new, consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on my channel. A link to a battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thanks to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.